All right, everyone, welcome to Tarnished Bronze, and we are back into 5 years later, Legion of Superheroes issue 3 by Giffen, the Bierbaums, and Big Al Gordon. Now, they've sort of blown the secret reveal of what's going to happen here. I wonder what all these rocks and this blood is going to mean. Great cover, might I add. I love the fact that we're on what looks like a moon and there's a moon in the background. It's just so good. Who needs physics when you've got amazing SF art? So, Patrick, this is a month after this guy has been revealed as one of the sort of major baddies of this issue. We're going to check in on a whole bunch of planets for reasons that escape us, but there's danger in this issue of some people with charisma. So that's going to be something to look forward to. So we have Brainiac 5 here. Um, Patrick, what are your thoughts on the jumping around?
Yeah, a lot of the snippets at the beginning are pretty inscrutable, as you like to say. Some of them will be elucidated later. Um, some of them maybe not.
Yeah.
But yeah, we do finally see Brainiac 5, so that's always
The
great.
Dominators are always
One of my
good. So
favorite
now,
Legionnaires. We've
is
got the
that a
Dominators.
clue?
We know that they're involved. There is some question, which I'll get into on a future issue. We also have Starboy down here, so we're
Okay.
checking in on him. He's now some sort of hockey coach type thing, and Chameleon Boy is still on Rimbor. But yeah, some of them, the this is a perfect example of one of these nine panels. I love the nine panel, but every now and then I do get a little confused, so I'm a little bit like. Where is Dawnstar and what is happening to her? Did she get
Oh yeah, I don't know what's
completely
going on there.
killed? I'm not exactly sure what's going on there. I almost pulled out my magnifying glass to see what Largand is saying, but I didn't. I was wondering if those were real words or not.
Yeah, I
Um,
think it says um I wish I could, but just this time the alarm clock, something about yeah, probably
oh
something.
wow. Yeah, no,
Yeah.
I tried and I was like, yeah,
Okay.
give it up. My eyes don't do that anymore. So yeah, I actually really love this device, right? When it's used right. In this case, I'm not sure a lot of this is super important, but I think this is a good way when you have a ton of characters to you can give little check-ins. And I think Levitz did that a lot during his run as well. So even without the nine panels, he would do a little check-in.
So I like this. This serves the purpose of the Legion monitor board. We can do a quick check-in. This people is here, this person's here, here's our main story.
Yep.
Now it turns out that this isn't anything to do with Legion tech. This might be Mordru tech, right?
Mm.
So yeah, that's like the nice little twist I think on this is like the we've just been out of the magic wars 5 years ago, but it seems like magic and science are united together again for the very first time. And
And at odds. And at odds, and we'll find out exactly how much at odds in the coming issues.
yeah, this is a cool sequence. Like I didn't know who this guy was. Now I've got some notes. This is Ron Vidar, right? Is that
Yes.
the guy who is at like the end of the Magic Wars or the is
He's
he
the Green, he's the Green Lantern of this time period, the only one, because the Green
okay?
Lantern Corps have been the only one we know of. The Green Lantern Corps in Levitt's run were forbidden from coming into Earth's sector, so we never saw any Green Lanterns. Ron Vidar is a Green Lantern. He's also Universo's son,
Okay.
so he's been an honorary Legionnaire since the Silver Age.
Was he
And
kept in suspended animation or something, and then Brainiac made him into the time bubble or something and sort of killed him? Or is that someone else?
I think
That's
maybe
Infinite.
that's someone else.
Okay, so that might be Infinite Man or some.
Yes, that
Okay,
makes more
all right. So
sense. I didn't
this
know who you're
guy's
talking about, but once you say that, yes. Ron Vidar was a time researcher. He helped
okay.
Brainiac. invent the time cube and the time, which was replaced by the time sphere. He's worked at the Chronal Institute for a while. That's my memory of it. But he was definitely a colleague of Brainiac 5, very smart guy. And like I said, it was revealed at one point that he was the son of Universo, so that was a big deal. And I think maybe he saved them from his father at one point. He was very much a background character until the end of the Levitz run. We find out that he's a Green Lantern and he plays a little bit of a bigger role. Now,
Okay.
here he's been captured and is being tortured by being eaten over and over, I think, and then regenerated by one of Mordru's creatures. He apparently had gone to Tharn, where Mordru is the emperor of the planet, to free White Witch, who is under his thumb and has gotten caught. So,
And it's not going too good for old Rond. So I'm pleased that you just straightened that out because I was just I knew that that guy had something to do with time, but yeah, makes much more sense now. Some great
now that we have now that we have Ron Vidar introduced, one of the problems I do have is they have, in my opinion, they have difficulty sort of differentiating him from Cosmic Boy.
yeah.
Um, they do look like in the old comics too, somewhat, because same hair color, nondescript white man, right? The memes write themselves, but that gets a little bit more difficult once Cosmic Boy shows up on Tharn as well. In like I said, in my opinion, it can be a little bit confusing.
So here is another fantastic little tidbit through. So these first three issues are basically some setup. We're going to check in with some Legionnaires. And now this is where this is Lightning Lord and Lightning Lad, their home planet, right?
Yeah, this is Wynneth, where, as I told you separately, I think maybe you asked, where yes, clothing is optional. It is, they have,
Yeah.
I don't know that, I think this may have been a Keith Giffen Bierbaum retcon as well. I don't remember that being established in old Legion issues, but now and going forward, Wynneth will be a planet where, people, nudity is something that is de rigueur, let's
I've
say.
got a feeling it's in one of the annuals from the Levitz run where they go here. And yeah, I've got a
Maybe
feeling.
so.
Yeah.
From back then. Okay, yeah, that could be. It's been a while since I read all the
And
annuals.
and we've got
Um,
the monument to Pharaoh Lad, and then there's going to be some nasty stuff with one of their kids, right? Like about
yeah, so this is the Lightning Ring Plantation. Lightning Lad and Saturn Girl have retired from the Legion, gone back to Wynneth, and they've taken over. Wynneth has always been known as an agricultural world. They export food for the entire United Planets. So they've gone back and started this plantation. Somehow, we don't really know how this has happened. Lightning Lord has been sort of redeemed, and he's a good guy now. We find out later, I think, that he's on medication that kind of keeps his psychoses under control, which in previous issues has been established. It's because most of the people on Wynneth are twins. He was born as a single, so that's kind of driven him over the edge. We already saw in issue 1 that Shrinking Violet was headed back to Wynneth to join up with Ayla Rands, who is Lightning Lass, and there we see them traipsing through the woods naked, and they come across what was previously in the Hall of Fallen Heroes in the Legion headquarters that's been moved to Wynneth, and where they have the statues of the heroes that have died. And yeah, one of the reasons why Lightning Lad and Saturn Girl have fled back to Wynneth is because they have twin sons. One, Graham, who is just a normal kid. The other one, we find out later, their other son, Garridan. We'll discuss what happened to him when we get to the text pages, but he's now a boy in the bubble, and that's basically all we know at this point.
I thought it was great to touch in. I love these little touch-ins. We've got Tim, is that Timberwolf or he's called something else now? But yeah,
Furball.
Furval, that's right. Yeah, I thought this was kind of a cool thing. So we're slowly getting that. It's issue three. We haven't got the band back together again, but we've got the producer, we've got the bass player over here, and they're starting to all make some noise that I think something is going to hit them pretty. Is that ambush bug in the background and top right?
I don't see him. I don't see the antenna.
Okay, okay, no antenna, just a buggish sort of
What
person.
I
Maybe
wondered is that a triple boob?
I think so.
I'm not sure I noticed that when I did my read through.
It might be quadruple though if you really, you
If
know.
you, yeah, we need the full look. Yeah, we don't really know. We don't know that Furball is Timberwolf at this point.
Okay.
But yeah, that's revealed in future issues. I mean, I'm sure people figured it out, but
And so this is where we get the reveal that Mordru is using all of these sort of sensors and these remote capture cameras to sort of spy on the Legion. So those original panels in the start are actually not nothing to do with UP tech or with EarthGov tech or with Legion tech. They're Mordru. So that kind of makes it a bit more of a sinister thing. And so I kind of like that. We could have had that in issue one, but we have
Mhm.
it in issue three, and I think it does work really well. And then we get the explosion of the dominator culture on Earth. So Patrick and I had violent disagreements about how much we loved Invasion. The Dominators always have a cool look. They're after Earth for reasons that escape all of us after that miniseries. But anyway,
That's one thing we did not disagree about is that the Dominators are super cool. They're very worthy villains.
yeah, and they do what they say on the tin. They dominate the Earth Gov space. So I just really love the fact that we're getting this Sydney Opera House thing in the background, or the updated version of that in that second panel. And it is great to see the Dominators not in a spaceship, like they're just tooling around this luscious. I kind of like that juxtaposition, and it kind of makes me indirectly kind of realize. I think this is where Keith is so good. They're at home here. They're
Hmm.
not like, this is they're entrenched in this environment. So it looks like the Dominators, Mordru maybe will be the big baddies, and that ragamuffin looking Victorian gent are the three main villains. And speaking of the three main villains, one of them is going to get their star turn in the next few pages, Patrick.
Yeah, we find
Now,
out that the Dominators have enlisted Roxas to help
yeah,
them prevent the reformation of the Legion. They also know, Mordru knows, but separately, the Dominators know that the Legion there's a fear that the Legion will be reformed. So they call in Roxas. Roxas, for the people who don't know, space pirate from I would assume, I think, yeah, the Silver Age. He murders an entire race, the Traumite race. The only escapee was Element Lad, and then Element Lad joins the Legion. So Roxas, Element Lad, by the way, did have a chance to kill Roxas in one of the 70s comics and didn't. Of course, the Legion all thought that he was going to, and I think there's a famous cover where he's, aiming the gun at Roxas, and they're like, "No, Element Lad, please don't. You'll get expelled from the Legion for murdering the person who killed your entire race."
yeah,
Uh, so I don't know. Little, that beggars belief. But yeah, Roxas shows up, and his first victim is Block, who happens to be hibernating on this moon. Block is typical of his race and his character. He's gone through a few sort of reimaginings over since his introduction in the 70s, I think. So I think in sticking with that of course I think was just the fact that he was introduced and maybe they changed his look a little bit, maybe once or twice. Now they've kind of gone with that so that now there's more time has passed, so he looks different. He's evolved, like other. I think he's a dryad, so other
yeah.
creatures.
I like
Like
his spiracles. If you're a biologist into insects, I think that's what those air holes are. So,
Yeah, I actually think that that's a nice addition and how they sort of it's almost like a horn
Yeah,
that's not attached. So yeah, I thought it was cool. I don't think people realized how popular Block was. People were actually really upset that he was killed s- in this way. I don't know that he was appreciated that as much enough, when he was alive, but that happens sometimes. People are appreciated more after death.
he
Um,
does have a little like you know if you're very demented, sometimes you go through a period where it's all very coherent for you. And we see that Block has that. Now, I think this is one of the LEGION callbacks. They might be the last two of whatever the Block's race is, which is kind of, we're talking the Dungeons and Dragons style races like elves and stuff. Whatever creature Block is, right, is I'm just blanking on it. Are
They're
they
Dryad.
the
They're from
dryads?
Dryad,
Yeah,
and this is Strata. She's the female Dryad that is part of Legion, Legion, like you said. So they are tying that in. He's sort of going to his ancestral homeland as he dies. Is actually really touching, and so they give him a good send off in this issue, and
yeah,
that's nice.
yeah. No, I thought that kind of, we get the darkness and the light in issue three. We get these really kind of funny scenarios juxtaposed with these kind of bleak things. And I will have to give a shout out. The coloring here is really on point as far as like the foreground, middle ground, and backgrounds in these space. I really like the just the sort of restraint shown with the coloring. That really works well. Block's fight just looks really cool, and the end is the end. We're not seeing any more of Block, at least in this 5 years later thing. Now, is this tape given to the Dominators? I can't remember who's actually watching the tape.
Yeah,
Pat.
because the captions kind of look they're not lengthening their S's like we usually see with the
Yeah,
Dominators. So I wonder if it's them, but it is definitely who is hiring Roxas, which my understanding was that was the Dominators. But we find out later that perhaps Earth Gov is involved in this too.
yeah,
Also, on the previous panel, I did want to say, did you notice that in Rock's sort of dream state as he's visiting the ancestral afterlife, we see the different versions that he's taken. Now,
yeah,
the one
yeah.
on the bottom, the last panel on the left page doesn't quite capture in my opinion, his look during the Levitz era. But the one on the left where he has sort of the collar, that's sort of more what he looked like when he was first introduced in the 70s. Which, by the way, a rock creature, but one of his main power that enabled him to qualify for the Legion was that he absorbed energy blasts.
Oh,
And they actually didn't use him very often like that. He just became sort of a thing, stand-in proxy.
yeah.
The Fantastic Four. So that just kind of clues us into how his race supposedly their form kind of mutates as they get older.
Another great little check-in we get to, what I would call the main saga, definitely in issue two, was Ultra Boy and Connor trying to escape their pursuers. Just some great fan service here, as always, from Keith Giffen in the second panel, amongst a few. He always manages to sneak that sort of stuff in. So we're slowly coalescing. Patrick, I don't have anything too big in my notes about the sort of fallout from here. I just liked the training sort of montage from Kono. She's pretty independent at this point. Like, I don't think she really needs a team, or she
Hmm.
doesn't know she doesn't need a team. Is that kind of what you're
Or
what
maybe
you're
she
getting
does
at?
know that she doesn't need a team. She's definitely an iconoclastic figure, I think, at this point. The sort of outsider looking in, that's kind of being swept up in the Legion tide, if you will. I'd be remiss if I didn't note that the middle panel on the left is exactly what I'm talking about. It looks like there's some kind of creature sitting on top of Ultra Boy's, what do they call that? A five head? Like come on, that's a little odd. I gotta point it out. Also, that there's an Easter egg in the top middle panel to Saturn Girl's 1970s pink bikini look.
Oh, is that
It's
what it was?
not
Like I just
Saturn Girl,
okay, I just thought it was
but
general fan service, not specific fan service. So is
it
that the
is
thinking?
pink, right? Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm colorblind, but
is
yeah.
that the thinking man's piece of crumpet there, Patrick? Is that the
Also, why is Chameleon Boy wearing a string bikini was
uh,
kind of a weird look, and Ultra Boy's completely bare-assed. So, I mean, they're exploiting both sexes. So I like it. It's an even
it's an
tit for tat.
equal opportunity ogling, Patrick, I believe is
Pun
the
intended, tit for tat.
yeah.
But
So
yeah,
that's
and then
good.
we see Kono kind of sneak into the men's locker room. So yeah, she's a bit cheeky as well.
Now, this is a really great like ransom note thing
Mm.
that kind of makes the stakes escalate. Now, we're going to talk about stakes across almost every single issue we've ever done, except maybe the last one we didn't really get into the stakes. This is where it ramps up.
Hmm.
Um, now, you and I have a few complaints about the pacing of the first three issues, but there can be no complaints about all the stuff that happens in the third one is definitely upping that stake. So
Hmm.
while everyone's playing around in the swimming pool and flicking towels at each other, this Roxas guy is just like, oh, by the way, I mailed the carcass of this guy to you, and I'm sending the child of one of the founding members of the Legion of Superheroes, some nasty notes. Like that's pretty,
And
like
also referencing that he has the statues from the Hall of Fallen Heroes or what you might call it.
yeah, Uncle
Your dad
Pharaoh
likes to
lad.
collect statues of dead heroes. Like, yeah, that's grisly.
Yeah, so
And Lightning Lad's reaction.
yeah, yeah, um, yeah. I wish we could have had some more of these sort of sci-fi scapes too, Patrick. I think that's what the one thing that the nine panel does really well is it fills your story up and it lets you juxtapose art with some of these like text panels, which oh, that's just lazy art, but sometimes it makes that Roxas letter look really striking, right? But I think we could do with some more bigger reveals here and there. And does it look like Lightning Lad is impressed? I don't think so. So is this the thing that's going to trigger the Legion to be reborn instead of being the kibosh put on it, Patrick? Because the whole point of Roxas is to like nix the reunion of the Legion. Now he might have just made a rod for his own back by like inspiring a new Legion. That's how
Yeah.
I'm looking at this.
Yeah, no, it doesn't really make sense in that aspect, really. I almost wonder, yeah, it's really a great stoic, with the closed mouth, and he just turns around and says, we've got to bury him." He's not even paying Roxas any attention whatsoever. He's just going to deal with the corpse and deal with everything else another day. But Lightning Lad isn't really somebody that you want to piss off.
No, so it seems again that we've got more introspection, just people running around in the future with trench coats, which never gets tired. I love Blade Runner, so the more trench coats and mullet rat tails, the better. That's just the future that I want to live in, Patrick. Your mileage might vary, but once again, we're kind of getting into these. Like it seems to have backfired on the Dominators, them trying to put the squeeze on the Legion.
The
Um,
Dominators as a character set sort of seem to have that characteristic. I don't know if that's by mistake or that's purposeful, but they do tend to try to control situations too much so that they then spin out of control or have unintended consequences.
yeah,
It felt like that was a big part of the Invasion series, which was also done by Keith Giffen. So maybe he's playing on that.
yeah, bung. They're not bungling it. It's not. That's not the
No,
right word, but they're kind of like
they
orchestrating it.
they're overly controlling, overly
Yeah,
dominating, maybe, and
it's in the
yeah,
name.
maybe a little bit too sure of themselves at times, and then they do have these unintended consequences. And then here we have just the tease that Monel is back.
Yeah, and I like Monel. I like there's a danger of people with charisma in this episode. There'll be a danger of even more charisma in the next issue. I think number four is we'll talk about them. That's maybe where we should start. And it's fitting, Patrick, that this is meant to put the kibosh on the Legion of Superheroes, but instead it seems to have given them the impetus to reform. This is in 2025 that we're recording this issue. There hasn't been a new issue of Legion of Superheroes for a long time. Now, Patrick, are there any new Legion coming? Before we see where this is in the pantheon of Tarnished Bronze, do you have any news about the Legion?
Yeah, before we get to that, I should mention just the text page at the end
Oh,
does
yeah,
because we were going to go back to Garridan, right? The other twin son. So I just want to quickly say that in the text page, we learn that the other twin son has, in the past, we know this from an annual during the Levitz era, that he was abducted by Darkseid and taken back in time, and then infected with what is called the Validus plague. So that turns him into Validus, who is the giant with mental lightning.
with the
And that's actually
brain,
not a
the
retcon. Yes, the
exposed
clear
brain.
plastisteel head and the mental lightning. Now, the mental lightning, which sounds like just two words they strung together like rock lobster, right? A B-52's reference. But how perfect is that? That they've added the fact that he's Lightning Lad and Saturn Girl's son, and he always had that weird mental lightning power, just because it was sort of a kooky 70s thing that they threw at him. So I always thought that the seamlessness of that was very nice. So he was a member of the Fatal Five. He fought his parents multiple times without them realizing that that was their son. Of course, they finally realized that. He's since been returned to his original form. They have to keep him in a bubble so that he doesn't infect other people with the Validus plague, and we learn all about that. And that's why Brainiac 5 has been reintroduced, is because he is actively searching for a cure for the son of Lightning Lad and Saturn Girl. Now, back to current Legion news, and this is maybe a little bit of a spoiler, so if nobody wants to hear, turn it off now. But my understanding is that Legion people, Legion fans will already know that the Omega Legion has been introduced in the DC All In special, right? So Darkseid has formed a version of the Legion that's evil. We love to see it. They've kind of, they all have the Omega sign instead of the Legion symbol, and they look really cool. They're going to be coming to Superman, I think maybe Superman 28. And then I saw on the internet sneak peek, just one panel of I think Superman 29, don't quote me on that, but that he is trying to figure out how to get the actual Legion back to help fight the let's call them the Omega Legion or the Dark Legion. So people online are very excited that this might be the reintroduction of the Legion that we've been waiting for. It doesn't look like it's going to be the Bendis Legion. It looks like they may go back to the Jeff Johns Legion. It's interesting because I'm in a few Legion forums, and some people really, in particular, I've noticed, you kind of, I don't know any of these people, but you notice the things that they say over and over. Some people love Jeff Johns and some people hate him. I thought his Legion was really great, honestly. The whole Earthman saga, I think I made you read that a while back. I thought he did a great job with sort of advancing their age, but taking off from the Levitz Legion and sort of, adjusting them a bit, aging them a bit, but then
I,
keeping the canon that we as Legion fans really enjoy and love.
I think
So
I'll
I'm
like
hoping
that.
that that's going to be it.
Yeah, I think I'll like that even more when I get to it again, having read like when you sort of introduced me to that story, I was kind of a blank slate for Legion, so I didn't quite get it as not as much as what I'm sure, even if I just read it now, and it's still like 20 years in the future of issues. I'm sure if I read it now, it would make even more sense. Like it was really cool, but now it's going to make a lot. It's going to hit a lot harder. So yeah, that is exciting news,
And
Patrick.
it's
But still no
possible
Legion
that,
book.
an issue, a book may spin out of that. I mean, it's possible. You never know with DC and the Legion what they're going to do. It's been quite a few years. The like I said, the Bendis Legion wasn't super well received. I think people like the Ryan Sook, is that his name?
Yeah,
Art.
his art's
Um,
good.
the characterizations were not great. I was actually excited about it, and as you know, I lived up north at that time because that was around the time that we met, and I was buying every cover to try to show, support, even though it wasn't necessarily my favorite configuration. Petered out after 12 issues or so, and a lot of the characters, even, they had introduced these new characters that you'd see in the background and had names. We didn't really have an exploration of their power set, no explanation or exploration of their characterization. And one of the problems, in my opinion, with the Bendis Legion is the characters were very um, easily able to be substituted for one another. There was a lot of repetitive dialogue, and it didn't seem like any of the characters stood out as their own character very often. So it was sort of a throwback to the early Justice League, right? Where does it matter if Wonder Woman's saying this or Flash? It doesn't really matter. And people are just saying they're just repeating the plot lines over and over. We've got to go get the Trident, or we've got to save Earth. Oh yes, let's go save Earth. Oh, but we're not going to be able to save Earth, but we will. We need to save Earth. So it was a little derivative, and I was excited for it because I'm willing to give anything a chance, but it didn't really sort of pay off. And Legion versus Justice League, or Justice League versus Legion, was honestly a bit more of the same. It was kind of a 10 or 12 issue story that didn't really go anywhere.
It's a damp squib. Like,
Yeah. And
um,
like I said,
save your
I
hate
don't
for the comments, everybody. Patrick dislikes Batman, dislikes
I
Brian
hate
Michael
to hate on
Bendis.
creators. I'm not one of those people that just, I give people a chance. I really wanted to give that a chance. And like I said, I bought all the issues. I read them. I was ready to enjoy them. Who's Monster Boy? Tell me, why does this alien have this power where he turns into old monster from American films?
Yeah,
This is a little bit weird, but hey, okay, show it to me. Like let me enjoy it. But it didn't get a chance to get off the ground, and that's why first issues are so important, right? That's why we're kind of confused a little bit why 1 through 3 have been a little bit slower than what we would have expected. But things are heating up in 3, and I think now you're ready for the rating. And for me, I'm going to kick it off this time. And I'm going to say I would probably slide in 3 right above 2. I'd
yeah.
probably put it below heavy metal because it's not a full
It doesn't
story.
have the fixer. It's got Roxxas, who does have a hell of an outfit. So I mean, I'm not going to ask anyone to cosplay as Roxas, but
I don't love the Joker look and they also had Element Lad, or I mean, excuse me, Lightning Lad as a foppish dandy too. If you notice, he
yeah,
had the collars and so maybe that's just what Giffen wanted to draw at that time. That's come back into vogue apparently after the Magic Wars.
what Jacobites from the future or some like crazy thing where the powdered wig was considered the epitome of class,
Mm.
like
Yeah, I don't really love the outfits, the hairstyles and whatnot, but it was the 90s, so early 90s.
all
But yeah,
right,
I do
so
think
that
this is
that
a little,
works for
like you
me.
said, the stakes are raised. It's a little bit more exciting. Things are coalescing, so I do think it's an improvement over 2.
Okay, yeah, we're going to slide it under our Todd Martin and the Fixer issue with heavy metal, and just above number 2. Things are ramping up. I'm very, very excited about number 4. Patrick will be covering that on the channel soon. Like, follow, subscribe. There's loads of content out there, including Keith Giffen, Legion content, and a whole bunch of other Bronze A's goodies. So we will see you in the next one.